if you have an international business, you got a problem.
Well, Apple definitely has an international business, but the good news for Apple shares and why we like them heading into earnings is historically the two things that gave investors anxiety on Apple are iPhone unit sales and sales trends in China. Well, with the prolonged trade war between the U.S. and China, though they're negotiating today in Shanghai, that's taken away the risk on the China sales.
Okay.
And then with the maturation of iPhone and of smartphone market, that's also taken away the risk of poor iPhone sales. We know they're going to be down the quarter. So I think for that reason, because of low expectations, the stock's really well positioned here.
How much are you going to focus on the phone sales themselves?
Yep.
So I go pick up my own phone, which oftentimes, as you know, Apple would like you to stop focusing on.
Correct.
And focus on the services piece.
So the answer is absolutely focusing on the non-iPhone portion of the story today. So the big telegraph from Apple is when they stopped giving us unit sales for their devices. So that's Apple telling us that's a less important data point, and that's how they're managing the business. And what we're looking for Apple is progress on their efforts to diversify away from that 60% of sales that come from iPhone. Think about their efforts in financial services, including payments, healthcare, automotive. Are they going to make a car or just an operating system for a self-driving car? So I think that's why Apple's rebounded so significantly, is we're focusing on what's next for Apple and less so on the iPhone.
So give us an idea of what you think is next.
Okay, so I think what's next for Apple is 5G device.
Right.
So I'm going back to the unit sales of iPhone there. But you may see a return to positive unit growth in fall of 2020 on a 5G device from Apple. So again, I think that further de-risks the quarter because we're waiting for next year for a potential positive return for unit growth for iPhones.
There's a report yesterday by Ming-Chi Kuo, who is a highly respected Apple analyst out in South Korea, who talks to supply chain, et cetera. But his premise is that the three phones that Apple would announce, the new phones, would all have 5G. And I'm wondering, people are already talking about that product launch. How many free passes in terms of quarters does an Apple get before that launch?
Yeah, so
you want to position yourself ahead of that launch.
We're talking about 2020. We're not talking about 2019.
Yeah,
just to be clear.
but you're right. But already people are talking about it and saying that is going to be the major new upgrade cycle.
Yep.
And will be the next huge leg for Apple.
So on that basis, they could have another 5 quarters of free passes to the extent that we're talking about a launch in the fall of 2020. So I think, again, that also has Apple well positioned because we're not focusing on this temporary period they've had with declining unit sales for iPhones, which hysterically would have put a lot of pressure on the stock.
So basically you're saying for the next 5 quarters, expect to see declines in smartphone sales, in iPhone sales.
Yes, absolutely. So if you think about Apple and you think about their...
And does services decline commensurately? Because isn't there a flywheel argument to this where, you have a greater install base, services grow, and so therefore if you take that install base away a little bit and you deteriorate that, or however you want to put it, then what happens?
So the beauty of Apple today is that they've been able to drive growth from their non-iPhones. So they've been able to drive the flywheel on the installed base without having their core engine moving forward. So I think if you think about what they've done with News Plus or Apple TV Plus premium content, they have enough new news, new announcements, and new services coming along to drive growth independent of unit growth for iPhones.